I want to welcome you to a very special area of the planet. In Ecuador, the Andes mountain range is like the spine of the country, and the eastern slopes of these mountains meet the almighty Amazon rainforest. This forest is almighty in more ways than one. It's the most species-rich region of the planet. The Amazon River basin drains more fresh water than any other system, and the forest is part of 9 different countries.
Today's going to be an unreal day for looking for wildlife in the Amazon. The river Misawai and the river Napo have come up. They're angry today. They've got a lot of rain last night. It's like a whole new character of a place. And when the river comes up like that, you'll have the species that prefer the bankside or streamside habitat getting pushed up into higher ground. That's what I'm going to be looking for today. And I'm having the time of my life. He's a big boy. This is the cane toad. Look at the size of him. It looks like a cow patty. Now you're probably thinking, how the hell does a toad defend itself in a place as ruthless as the Amazon? See these big glands right here? They can secrete a white, milky kind of toxin, and just about any animal that tries to ingest that, good luck to you. Secondly, they can take their big, strong legs, these powerful back legs here, and arch their body like that. And when they do that, that makes them look bigger and tougher than they actually are. I'm gonna let you be back on the forest floor where you're perfectly camouflaged. Wow.
I found myself sparking a childhood dream and hiking solo off the beaten path in the Amazon rainforest and all of its surprises. I tried to keep my bearings while being bewildered by the deliverance of this place. I hear a beetle. Scientists estimate there could be anywhere between 500,000 to over 4 million species in existence, making them the most species-rich group of identified animals.
Can you hear that? This beetle even has a defensive noise. Wow, he's got some kick to his legs too. Kind of stabbed into me there a little bit as well.
Moving slowly in the rainforest is a benefit to not only staying safer, but to also observe the remarkable smaller species that call this jungle home. Like this praying mantis who played peekaboo by switching to the other side of the tree and then pressing flat against the mossy trunk for camouflage.
Oh, look, there's another. Coming in to say hello. Same species.
And then, a startling discovery. Snakes are my favorite animals, and I'm fascinated by ones like South America's fer-de-lance, which is responsible for the continent's most annual snakebite deaths. I thought I nearly sat on this species while filming this waterfall, but a close photo inspection by my knowledgeable university colleague, Patrick Maldwin, identified 2 minuscule details in the eyes and scales which made this snake a mimic species. That's right. Some snakes have evolved to look like genuinely dangerous species in the same region. It even fooled me as a snake enthusiast.
I just had to pull a knife on a dog. Thankfully we didn't have to make contact, but honestly, I feel safer in the jungle than I do on the road, between the driving and the dogs.
I also enjoyed trekking in at night with my headlamps and cameras. A whole new suite of nocturnal organisms came out to feed and move around. Many animals in the Amazon can breed at any time of the year because there's very little seasonal variation here. The tailless whip scorpion and this black caiman's glowing eyeball are just a fraction of the finds one can have on a small walk out here. But you've got to watch where you're walking.
You know, just doing a night run to go get some more water, and I almost step on that tarantula right there. Most of them are actually incapable of killing any size or shape or form of a human. And what some tarantulas will do as a form of defense, other than biting, is they'll use their hind legs to scratch away at their abdomen, and it kicks off all these irritating hairs. And those hairs can be very irritating. Adios to the eyes and skin of a person like me who likes to get close. Yep, it's the rainforest, all right. It's a beautiful, warm, soothing kind of rain, though. It's lovely, and the whole place comes to life with it. Absolutely amazing.
During the days, I found time for moments of rest
That's my hammock and home sweet home.
and shenanigans with the local boys. Once the rivers have emptied out of the Andes Mountains, they grow wide and braid their way through the Amazon basin. 209,000 cubic meters per second are discharged into the Atlantic Ocean. That's the big picture, but now back to the small stuff. And these leaves that they've carried from so far away from the canopy of some of the most humongous trees out here in the Amazon are now being brought down underground, where they act almost as like a fertilizer to grow fungus. And then they are basically farming that fungus so they can eat the fungus for energy. They're farming fungus underground. And these ants are gonna start farming me soon if I keep lying here. Ants are ecosystem engineers in the rainforest and are also a vital point of the food web. Ants account for the most biomass of all rainforest animals, meaning ants outweigh all the other animals present in the area.
My God.
One ant species, known as the bullet or conga ant, takes the cake for ultimate defense. I can feel their body movement through the end of these sticks where my hands are. And that little bit of abdomen right there, that is what's going to deliver one heck of a powerful sting. This would be two males fighting for a territory, most likely. Ants have got to be, pound for pound, the strongest and gnarliest animals in the Amazon. That is incredible. That is one way to go for this fly or wasp. So this here is the bullet ant. Aptly named so because the bullet ant, apparently when it stings you, not bites, that's right, stings, it is the equivalent to being shot. Locals and reports say the sting is a full-body assault with pains possibly greater than 24 hours. Now, out of all hymenopterans include your ants, your bees, your wasps, and your sawflies. This is the most painful sting of any insect in the world. Did it get you? No, but that was enough. I just had the world's strongest stinging hymenopteran crawl over my forearm. I have the shakes. And furthermore, these right here are a type of fungus. So much happens in the rainforest all at once, it's a little bit too much sometimes. But this fungus reproduces using spores that it ejects out into the air. So when an animal steps on it, or when raindrops hit it, that'll puff out into the air, and that's how fungus uses spores to reproduce. And furthermore, this hole here is made by a worm, and that's how big it is. Here's a worm we found. Wow. And there's his better half right there, literally his better half. The recipe for this incredibly high biodiversity lies in the fact that the equator receives a consistent input of the sun's energy, which creates a ton of available energy for species to thrive in and compete for. Plus, the world's richest rainforest is also rich in water, and this water carves out the gorges and valleys where species have plenty of options to survive. I have a major in biodiversity because I am majorly excited about biodiversity. So, am I going to show you animals that normally don't get some screen time? You bet I am. Look at these fulgurids sending chemical signals to one another. Look at this lizard looking at you. Look at this antlion larvae, which is neither an ant or a lion, but it is waiting on the log to find and trap its prey. This will metamorphose into an adult fly sometime soon. It's probably been a good 2 months since I've combed my hair.
and probably 2 weeks or so since I've even washed it. But thankfully, nature always provides, and here is a comb in the form of a fruit that has fallen from one of the many hundreds of species of trees out in this little area of rainforest, and I'm gonna give my hair a little cleanup. Can't get that at the hair parlor, can ya?
Equally as exciting were unexpected cultural finds. And in finding these people, you find their values and traditions they still hold near. For the Quechua natives in this region, the sacred and gigantic ceiba tree is like the cathedral of the forest.
Whoa. Oh, it's actually hard to distinguish altogether.
Look at that, it wasn't growing in the ground.
This wasn't even a root. This is from a treetop, but it's so saturated with water and there's so much moss on it and lichen and fungus that the water's been trapped for so long. And basically you have this soil complex that can be found up in these trees. And it's on here. There's soil on this branch, and it's not because of the ground. That's just where it is. But now it's turning back into the soil found on the forest floor, and that's actually going to keep this living for quite a long time still to come. Wow. This here is a vine, or also known as a liana. And lianas are really important in the rainforest in terms of helping create areas for more biodiversity by adding habitat and structural complexity to the area. And when you add structural complexity, such as this giant serpent-like piece of wood essentially going up to the top of the forest, you're opening up opportunities for different animals to use this. That happened. And it's absolutely enormous. Oh, and a little on the weak side too. They're there. But they grow in 3 different ways, and that's what's really amazing. One is they can grow from the ground up. They start in the soil like plants as we know usually do, and they snake their way up the tree in search for light and trying to outcompete the tree and other plants for that matter. Number 2 is they grow from the ground up and then they kind of detach at some point or a certain height at the tree, and like an animal almost, they kind of independently crawl their way up a tree and they establish themselves to get more light. But the third way is really cool. Look at this, for example. In the rainforest, plants grow on plants, and this is a vine supporting such a diversity of plants. This community is really interesting right here. Because we have so many plants up at the top of the trees, what ends up happening is eventually you get your own soil communities forming in the canopies, and if a seed gets deposited up there, a liana seed, the vine can start growing from the top of the canopy of the highest tree in the rainforest and work its way down. It's really mind-blowing.
What's equally as mind-blowing is the staggering numbers behind the plant biodiversity in the Amazon. In these areas of the jungle and hills, there can be 300 to 500 species of trees. In contrast, my enormous home province of Ontario has only 66 species in total. In areas near the equator, photosynthesis never stops. There is no influential seasonal stress on the plants. That means energy enters the dozens of thousands of species of plants all year round, all the time. That's a lot of energy to share, which helps create the species richness we see in the Amazon. I went on a 5-day excursion into Yanganati's National Park with a father and his son. I had an opportunity to learn about their relationship with the rainforest and how biodiversity teems where the Amazon meets the Andes Mountains. I also got to experience a way of life in the remote jungle areas. Here's Limber hand-lugging hand-cut logs in the river as a means to move them across their enormous property. The father, Eduardo, is a government biologist, shaman, and outdoorsman wrapped all into one. I knew this trek was going to be epic. Whenever I travel, I enjoy eating and drinking anything cultural or naturally provided. The high biodiversity of trees in the Amazon gives way to a high diversity of fruits, ranging from soft-shelled to hard-shelled, from edible to deadly, and bland to tasty. Speaking of tasty...
Yeah, that's going down the hatch right now. Okay. This is a traditional food for the Quechua people. And what's the name, sorry? Nombre?
Mayong.
Ayon.
Mayong.
Mayon. And Mayon's about to go into my mouth. Bon appetit. Mi nombre es Sacha. Not bad. No malo. Bueno, bon appetit, bon provecho.
We push deeper into these jungle-clad mountains. With such rugged geographical complexity, there are countless gorges, creeks, and slopes housing specimens that would be new to science. In these exact Ecuadorian ecosystems, there are likely more species of plants and animals than anywhere else on the planet. It's a narrow but precious convergence zone between the highland and lowland rainforest species. I was inside this forest for 5 days, sometimes literally.
Into the earth, into the underworld. I don't think too many people have ever been in here. Camera? These streams carved their way underneath the Amazonian earth for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers. These sorts of places give people the heebie-jeebies. All kinds of interesting insects, possibly reptiles, or bats in here.
But it didn't take long for the insects to meet me above the ground.
We've just walked through a wasp nest of some sort. I've been pegged in the face, in the knees, a little bit in the pants. Wow, that was an adrenaline rush. Got smashed by those wasps. So I've been pegged by the wasps 5 times now. We found another one inside my shirt on the back. And this little stick right here in my ear was given to me by the shaman. And it's said to help pass the pain by diffusing into you. Incredible.
Eduardo and Limber always had a way of showing their resourcefulness in this environment, especially with trees.
And that came from this tree right here. And it's used for insect repellent around the fire and also getting the fire started.
It more or less rained for 4 or 5 days of this trek. It was a fascinating chance to witness how the wild water world of the Amazon really works. Scientists call this phenomenon stem flow, where water moves down the trunks of trees towards the forest floor. It's just one of a million ways in a forest water moves through this labyrinth of green and brown. Waiting out the rain in the rainforest seems kind of like an oxymoron, doesn't it? The rain here pummels the leaves, and nearly everything in this environment acts like a sponge.
This is a stump, but now you could almost say it's soil, standing soil. Day number 3 or 5 has just commenced, and it commenced with, well, a whole chunk of an entire tree nearly falling down on our heads over there. We heard the crashing, we heard the noises, and all we could do was look up and wonder where it was coming from. Just that crunching, awful, intimidating noise.
The going was tough, but always entertaining.
Woo! It's a walking tree. This is no ordinary tree. In fact, there are 2 trees that are a little bit like this here in this area of the Amazon rainforest. But this one here, it's different. And they call them walking trees, not because you can sit here and watch them walk with your own eyes. It'd be like watching paint dry. They only move about 10 centimeters per year on average. Now, this has been called the erotic tree. The other species doesn't have penis-like appendages. Here's the other species of walking tree. And as you can see, they grow quite huge. The size is certainly admirable. My new home. Now, the roots on the interior here are older. The ones on the outside here, including this one here, are younger. And what they're doing is they're trying to move to areas where there's more sunlight, because it's an intense competition with plants in the rainforest. So they're looking for more sunlight, more nutrients, and that's how they move around. A very different tree, indeed, not in Canada.
On day 3 of this hike, I was told something that made my hair stand on end. I am the very first and only foreigner to ever set foot in these reaches of the forest. At times, Eduardo would call out to the abyss to some of our closest relatives.
Monkey action up at the top. It's amazing to think that these are primates, just like us as humans. We're all very much the same. It's incredible to think that these monkeys may have never seen humans before, and humans may have never seen these monkeys.
Much unlike the white-fronted capuchins of Missawahi village.
Sitting straight up, good perfect posture. That monkey has better posture than I do.
Oh, it's a bowl with fruit in it.
It's mine.
Yeah, I got nothing in there for you.
This population of wild but urban-savvy monkeys are extra cheeky and essentially run the town.
That was the sound of capuchin monkeys running and or wrestling across the roof of my hostel.
The village of Missawahi is forever a place in my heart. The relaxed atmosphere, the welcoming locals, and the end of the paved road in this area of Ecuador. Also, the home to a couple of old friends from years ago.
Okay, so I'm here with my friend Fabio in Ecuador in the East Andes of the Amazon. And I've waited a solid 3.5 years or so to come back and visit this place. But not only this place, but to visit Fabio. He's the maestro of the jungle as far as I'm concerned.
Again, welcome to the Amazon rainforest.
There isn't much Fabio can't do out in the rainforest. Not too many people in the world can understand and survive in the way out here that Fabio does. Fabio also called out to the monkeys. He cooked up scrumptious meals on the fly, and like myself back in Canada, he even has his own bush bar. We enjoyed ourselves here, and then headed off the beaten path.
If I had $1 for every time one of these nearly met my face on the trail, I'd be a rich man and no longer a broke student. So this snake is on the log right now. It's non-venomous. It likes to eat frogs as well as lizards, and right now it's likely waiting for lizards to come up this log that it's situated itself on.
Chonta?
Chonta, the chonta snake.
Fabio just told us the Quechua name for this snake species. Bear in mind there's also an English, Spanish, and scientific name for everything I saw out here too.
Tail is very long.
It is a very long tail. Snake is probably about almost 4 feet long.
The poison.
Believe it or not, that is a spider. It has 8 legs. That's a spider that is perfectly camouflaged.
Yeah.
Looks like a leaf or part of the forest floor.
Fabio taught me everything from medicinal plants to the tiniest of animals. And then, we veered off the path and Fabio had to keep track of our steps. For Fabio, of all people, to say he had never hiked into this zone of the forest says a lot. Because of the language barrier, one thing that Fabio and I never established when we met years ago was just how similar we are. Although I filtered the water while he simply drank it, we are both just guys who spend our time doing things we like, even alone. And he does it out here alone. Fabio got to work and allowed me to film him building a shelter, using only his surrounding materials. I helped where I could, but Fabio can take the full credit for this thing of beauty that he made in under half an hour.
Home sweet home.
I would go off at night wandering after Fabio slept. Sometimes I would return to my hammock to find other nocturnal pals.
Here's home. Oh my god, and look who's on my home.
He's huge. So let's talk about all the reasons why this guy would be nearly impossible to notice for a potential meal item on the menu out here in the rainforest. These stick insects have evolved to look just like their surroundings and what you have lots of in rainforests. Sticks, wood, debris, leaves. This one looks like a twig. They can secrete a toxin from their body, some of these species, and that toxin is irritating and potentially harmful to ingest. The second thing they do is a startling sort of display where they can erect their body up and they can move their body parts really, really quickly, and they can create a really sort of irritating and loud noise that startles the predator.
So you don't see me.
These black bees here are enjoying a salty snack, courtesy of me and my body. Sorry guys, the feast is over. What?
Fabio and I saw plenty of insects, but how about Ecuador's arachnids?
Cool.
It's a dog-eat-dog world and a scorpion-eat-scorpion world here. This is not something you see every day on the roof of your home where you're sleeping. What I really like about the Quechua culture, we're going to release it back to the wild, back to its home where it belongs.
This one lived in the walls of our cabin.
Oh. When El Capitan walked by the spider, it suddenly reared its front two legs up in that defensive posture.
Check out this tailless whip scorpion.
Okay.
Before my hand even gets to touch his body, he senses that I'm here and he moves. That is incredible. That is adaptation at its finest for an animal that lives in a nocturnal environment and lifestyle. Wow! That was one of the coolest things we've ever filmed.
Yeah?
Perfecto. Hola, Pablo.
Little did I know it, but the guys you were just introduced to couldn't have walked into my life at a better time. All of the adventure and wild experiences ground to a halt when I got slammed by dengue fever, a mosquito-transmitted virus which feels like a hangover plus a fever times 10. It is potentially lethal. Pablo Rodriguez, his family, plus my newfound friends took incredible care of me when I was at my most useless. However, that was not going to stop me from completing a 2-year fantasy, climbing up the isolated and mysterious Sumico volcano with Pablo Segresser.
We're currently camping out at the top of a government building, and we made ourselves at home here because just like the last government building we tried to check into, nobody's here. But no problem for Pablo and I because we have tents, hammocks, and rice being cooked on alcohol. We have woken up to see our very first view of Volcan Sumaco. And I've just been minorly electrocuted by a live wire that zapped the daylights out of my body. Whoa, what a rush. Are you ready to go up that?
Yeah!
Yes. This volcano is going to be super interesting, and it's super interesting to the scientific community too, because in the course of 1 or 2 days when we walk up the mountain, we're going to be changing, depending on who you ask and where you read, 4 or 5 different vegetation zones. And that means there's going to be a lot of different animals that are adapted or suited for living on those areas of the mountains. And we're going to be experiencing every zone of that on the way up. It's not a worm. It's a caecilian. It's a type of amphibian. Wow. It is so slick and sleek and slimy. And you can definitely tell how this guy would be perfectly at home in a place like this. And this guy, when it rains, comes out to the surface of the earth where we get to see him. And after...
No!
And after he travels around to look for food and to go into the earth like that. The 2 martine monkeys up here are letting us know that our presence is not welcome as they advance a little bit closer to us, and they shake the branches and throw a few sticks down our way, just to remind us that we're in their territory.
Take a look at this spellbinding place.
Someone else here is using the same trail as us, and we just learned from our guide that it's a jaguar. And that's the biggest cat you're going to find out in this area of the park. The elusive jaguar has probably seen people here, but not many people have seen the jaguar. It usually spends most of its time up in the trees, silently watching, listening, waiting, until it decides it's hungry enough that it's time to go on the prowl for some food. And thankfully, humans are not on the menu all that often. Don't eat that. That's jaguar. Oh, it's a huge nail. Pablo presents us his hippie pants. No more.
Hippie pants, no more.
No, check that out. That's just after, what, 2 or 3 hours hiking in the jungle?
No more hippie pants.
No more hippie pants, no.
Sumaco volcano sits apart from the 65 million year old Andes Mountains, rising dramatically from the Amazon. Nobody knows that the volcano is active or dormant, and it contains an unusual lake ecosystem cradled halfway up the mountain. For 3 days, we had a lot to take in.
This here is a perfect example of how a bromeliad can fill up with water and provide a nesting site for some of the frog species out here. This is where they can lay their eggs. It's also a place where insects like to hang out and get their fill of water and also reproduce. Bromeliads are a very important part of the rainforest.
Sumaco National Park is a remarkable place. Its slopes are largely uncharted, understudied, and are home to endemic species of frogs and other living things found nowhere else in the world.
We made it! Yay! 2 full days of mud and sweat and some agony, but a healthy dose of agony. And now we're here on the summit of Sumaco. Woo! That's the second pair of pants claimed by Mount Sumaco by the same person.
I am Pan Destroyer.
Got to be one of the craziest places and situations I've ever seen. We're above the clouds. And just 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes more of walking later, this is the scenery. After we've seen how the vegetation changes with altitude as a gradient, we also paint the picture of how climate change is going to affect places like Mount Sumaco, because literally and figuratively the plants that are adapted to these conditions, no matter where they are going up and down the mountain, they have to adapt fast enough to
basically keep up with the changing temperature and how the cloud cap, hence the cloud forest, is being lifted as the years go on. And studies in Central and South America have shown that some of the plants literally have to migrate up the mountain in altitude. But can they do it on time? Same goes for animal species. That's the big question and the big problem. Oh, that's just so juicy.
One animal not so well adapted to these jungles is Homo sapiens. Our ride out of the park was just as uneasy.
And I've just learned now that this here actually is the braking system for this motorcycle I just spent 10 minutes on. It's a cloth with something tied in it along the lines of a soap bar. And you yank on it to slow the bike down, but not to stop it. Wild Sumiko.
Towards the end of my journey, I teamed up with best friend and fellow cameraman Dave Tebbutt in an off-roading machine.
We just picked up our rental car.
And what a first day to ever try rental car in your life. We picked the Andes going down to the Amazon, where this exact route was closed 4 days ago due to mudslides. And neither of us have driven manual in a while either, so...
We got a car that weighs about 400 pounds. So this ought to be interesting.
Yes.
Before we knew it, all we had left to gasp was... For the life of us, we couldn't figure out how to even start this car constantly at first.
Entonces, con este de aquí,
Sí.
lo abres. Ya. Esas. Y prende.
Listo.
Sí.
Ah. Sí.
Vayan bien,
Gracias,
vayan bien,
Natalie.
vayan bien.
Muchas gracias.
Chao.
Buenos días. So the car is officially going to be named Magic Natalie. Gracias, Natalie. Nunca olvidar.
The dozens of landslides we were about to encounter took the lives of a few people and their vehicles just days prior to us taking this route.
Oh, this looks like another landslide that went down. Wow, this one just crossed the road with no mercy. Oh, it's like chocolate milk coming down the mountain. Look at this place. That one's more like a latte.
The constantly saturated East Andes beg your full attention. These landslides are to be taken seriously. Landslides are frequent and natural, opening up new spaces for light and different species of the rainforest to establish themselves. We'd be lying if we said we didn't enjoy our time in the clear as well. I returned to Miss Hawaii again with Dave, where my local friend promised us some high-quality adventure and good laughs. Do you like chocolate? Here's where it all begins with the cocoa fruit.
It's so sweet.
Solo chupar. Solo chupar.
Oh, I just swallowed the whole thing and he said only the skin.
Igual reproduce, no pasa nada.
I thought it tasted a little bit barky. So this here is the lemon tree, also known as the lemon ant tree, because there is a species of ants that has a symbiotic relationship with this tree, and they live in this little house, this little casa, if you will, right here. And if you'd like to understand why it's called the lemon ant tree, inside these little nodules are the ants, and if you press your tongue up against the ants, estas hormigas son diferentes.
No.
Grande. I think I got a mouthful of a different species of ants that weren't supposed to be in there. Dolor. The last time I tried the lemon ants, they look different. They're smaller. Oh.
They bite you?
¿Sí?
Yeah, right in the tongue. Oh.
Pero otro era
Normally, on a good day, I can feel that. It feels like my tongue's in like a vice grip. These are filled with little ants, and all it makes your tongue do is just buzz a little bit with a lemony taste, but I just voluntarily shoved my tongue into a different species of ants, and now I'm feeling it and paying the price for it. So termites are seen around the world as a pest, but we gotta give them more credit than they usually get. And the natives around here will use termites as a form of insect repellent on their body. So if you're ever stuck longer than you expected out in the rainforest and you need some protection from the various insects and the diseases and viruses they carry out here, termite nest is the way to go. Now, how do termites eat wood? Because so many animals simply can't eat wood in the animal kingdom. Termites eat wood because they have a set of bacteria in their stomachs that allow them to digest the wood. And they share this bacteria with the whole colony by passing it through their bodies. But basically what happens is the termites, they excrete or they poop out the materials after eating, and then the next termites will eat that, and that's how they ingest or obtain the bacteria required for eating wood. So, you're in the rainforest, you got problems, you don't have insect repellent?
Yeah. Luego te tienes a bañar.
And this will keep the mosquitoes away. I've already had dengue fever once out here and I don't need it again. Please and thank you. Termites all over my body. You get ants in your pants or you can have termites in your pants. Okay. And now tengo protección de los insectos de la selva.
Sí.
Muy bueno.
Hold on, okay.
Back in Miss Hawaii, the white-fronted capuchins are like the cats at home who won't stay off the table at dinner time. As cute as it is, this is how the monkeys have learned how to get their way in this village.
That's para me. He wants it so bad, eh? Open the bag.
As you've just witnessed.
We are hours deep into the Amazon, and I'm with Owen, and he knows people in this village. So we're going to go say hello.
Welcome to Shandia. This is a native community of the Quechua peoples, and they've been established here for some time now, and a lot of them focus on selling products to either other families in cities or bigger areas in cities like Tena. And a lot of these products include what you see here, various fruits and vegetables, as well as chicken. But a lot of them live quite sustainably, and they keep their food and their goods for themselves just to get by with day-to-day life out here in Shandia, because we really are on the frontier of the Amazon and the Andes Mountains here.
We tried to catch up with my buddy Limber, but I was told by one of the local boys that Limber wasn't home. I just find myself constantly remaining grateful for what the local natives did for me on this trip, and how sound and how soulful their knowledge was in this complicated forest, and also their will to protect it. This sign put up by Eduardo proclaims, "We defend nature for the future of your children." What a powerful and important message to deliver in this day and age, considering the destruction of any natural system has a global ripple effect. The Amazon rainforest is everyone's lungs of the earth.
I'm shaking. I think I need a beer.
It is a hothouse for biodiversity, and the diversity of life maintains a quality of life, which can be felt all over the globe. Everything is connected, and I feel privileged to have experienced and now shown you perhaps the most powerfully connected place on the planet, the Amazon. However, I still feel thankful that the bullet ant never connected with me. Thank you for your time and attention to this area of the planet. This is the backyard that the entire world needs protected and healthy. Keep an eye out for more hidden corners to come. Thank you.
Pulled over on the side of the road, got some epic drone footage, and Owen had the great idea of cracking a beer. So
Trunk beers.
10:30 a.m., middle of the Amazon.
Trunk beers. Fresh out of the trunk at Amazon room temperature.
Buenas tardes.